I have recently started following the dad joke man on Twitter. This is a man who finds and posts terrible puns, dad jokes. I quite like them though, and they make me laugh. And he's posted some good ones about Christmas. So I wanted to share some with you this evening. My wife is already talking about her Christmas presents, and she's been leaving jewellery catalogues all over the house. So I've taken the hint. I've bought her a magazine rack. I've just received my secret Santa gift, a pair of mittens. I've got an idea who they're from, but I'm not going to point any fingers. I know. If you're struggling to think of what to get someone for Christmas, get them a fridge and watch their face light up as they open it. And finally, imagine living at number 5 and what fun it must be trying to book a cab near Christmas. Yes, I'd like to book a taxi for Christmas Eve, please. My address is 5 Gold Rings. They're pretty awful puns, but I quite like them. They make me smile. And it's Christmas. 'Tis the season to be jolly, we are told. A season to celebrate and be joyful. And Christmas is the season for that, I agree. But I wonder how jolly and joyful you feel this Christmas. This last week, it has been pretty cold, hasn't it? Have you had your heating on? The thermostat in our house is now set to 17 degrees. It used to be set to 19, but with the massive increases in energy bills, we've turned it down to 17. Every time I walk past the thermostat, I am now checking to see whether anyone's turned it up. I have become the heating police this year. Last week, I got an email from British Gas, who supply our gas and electricity. And I kid you not, the title of the email was this: "Tell us how you feel about receiving a bill." The email said this, and this is not a joke. "Dear Paul, we'd love to know more about your recent experience with receiving a bill. It would be really helpful if you can complete a quick survey about this for us." And I thought at first it really was a joke. What are British Gas expecting me to say at this point? Do you know what? I love receiving bills. It's the best part of my week. When a bill drops through the letterbox or I receive a bill by email, I just have to stop and be so thankful that this bill has come to me. And especially now, because my bills are bigger than ever. Isn't life great? It wasn't a joke email, but I did not fill in the survey. I still could, I suppose. 'Tis the season to be jolly, we are told. But there's so many reasons not to be. There's a war in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians will spend this Christmas in a foreign country, away from family and friends. And for those who are still in Ukraine, they often don't have power these days. In Kiev today, it did not get above -4 Celsius. And tonight it will be -9. Imagine that with no heating. Closer to home, in our country, there's a cost of living crisis. There are strikes all over the place. And although it's great that the threat of COVID is less this year, and we don't all have to wear masks, we're all catching other bugs, left, right, and centre, aren't we? On Friday, Lee Junior School came here for their school carol service. It was the first time we've managed to do that in years. And it was great to have all the kids and many parents present that day. I asked the kids, "What's your favourite part of Christmas?" And the first answer was obviously getting presents. I asked another child, and the second answer was getting presents. And a third said the same. But then we got beyond that. And one child said lovely food. And the next child said that their favourite part of Christmas was spending time with family and friends. Presents, food, family, these are some of the precious things of Christmas, aren't they? My mum is coming to stay with us for Christmas next week, and it will be great to see her. But this year she's not coming with her partner, Richard, because he died in April, and it was my privilege to take his funeral in May. When we gather as a family on Christmas Day, Richard won't be there. 'Tis the season to be jolly, but I know we will feel his loss as well. I wonder what's going on for you at the moment. How jolly and joyful do you feel this year? Despite all that's going on in the world, and all our perhaps personal problems, there are reasons to celebrate this Christmas. It won't surprise you to know that I think the biggest reason to celebrate this Christmas is the thing that Christmas is named after, the person, Christ. We are celebrating tonight the most amazing thing. We are celebrating the birth of a man who is God. God in a body. God come to help us. God stepping into this world that he has made as one of us, a human being. That might sound completely mad to you. But that's who Christians believe Jesus is. He is God in person. God come to speak to us. God come to save us. The technical word for this is incarnation. Incarnation. You'll all be aware of the food chili con carne. This is chili with meat. From the Latin word carne, meat, flesh. Jesus is the incarnation. He is God with flesh on, God in person, God come as one of us. The Gospel of John, which we just heard, puts it like this: in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, full of grace and truth. God in person, come to us. Right now, with all the problems in the world, what do you think we need? What do you think we need at this time? Some people might say that we need scientists and engineers to find greener and cheaper sources of electricity and gas. Some people might say that we need politicians to help make peace between nations. Some people might say that we need economists to deal with the cost of living crisis. The Bible's answer is that what we need, whatever our bank balance says, wherever we are and whoever we are, we need a Saviour. Do you remember a few years ago, 12 children and their football coach were trapped deep underground in a cave in Thailand? They went exploring, but the passages of the cave filled with water, and they couldn't get out. These 13 young people were trapped in a cave 3 miles underground. There was no way on their own that they could get out. They did not know whether anyone was coming to rescue them. For 9 days, they were in a cave, cut off from the rest of the world, with no food and no light. And then, after 9 days in pitch darkness, 2 divers who had risked their own lives in the dangerous waters of the caves and travelled 3 miles through these flooded areas, these 2 divers emerged from the depths. Can you imagine what it must have felt like when the divers' lights flashed around that cave for the first time after 9 days in darkness? I thought of that moment when, after all that time alone in the dark, those kids knew that help had come, that someone had come to rescue them, that they weren't forgotten. I thought of that moment when I read our verses from Isaiah that we heard earlier. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. This light is Jesus for every one of us. He is the light coming to shine in the darkness of this world and in the darkness of our lives. He is God come in the flesh, risking everything to come in person to rescue me and you. Coming as a tiny, helpless baby just to rescue us. That is why, despite everything else that's going on in the world and in our lives, that is why we can and we should celebrate this Christmas. Jesus has come. God has come in person to help us and save us. If you've ever felt lost and alone, this Jesus is for you. If you've ever felt lost in the darkness and you don't know which way to go, this Jesus is for you. That's why we celebrate Christmas. I want to end with a poem. This poem is called Santa versus Jesus. They say there's a big man who lives far away, supposedly jolly, but it's hard to say. I've never seen him, and neither have you. But the children believe, whether or not it's true. He's known as a loner, with many a quirk. No time for a chat. He's embroiled in his work. He keeps to himself for most of the year. I reckon we're grateful he doesn't appear. We send him requests for particular needs, but we never hear back. Who knows if he heeds? We try to be good, give his arm a twist, to merit our place on his blessed little list. And maybe one day, if we do what we should, he'll give us our things, so long as we're good. I've had it to hear, I'm calling his bluff. He's a weird, moralistic dispenser of stuff. Granted, this rant is a strange one to pick, but listen, I'm not really after St. Nick. As strange as he is, and Santa is odd, I'm really addressing most folks' view of God. It's God who we see as a distant big guy, an ancient invisible St. Nick in the sky. He sees you asleep, he knows when you wake. He's watching and waiting to spot your mistake. And just like with Santa, the requests we hand in, we want all his things, but we just don't want him. That's our connection with Old Father Christmas. We might dress it up. It's essentially business. Throughout the year, good behaviour's our onus. When Christmas rolls round, we're expecting our bonus. Just leave us the gifts, Nick. We've been good enough. And then please push on. Now we've got all your stuff. I mean, Santa is interesting, curious, quirky, but no one wants him to share their turkey. I'm sure his ho-ho-hos are sublime, but I fear what he'll say once he's drunk our mulled wine. That's old St. Nick, but the picture rings true. It's how we imagine God is like too. But Christmas resounds with a stunning not so. The one from on high was born down below. To a world in need, he did not send another. God the Son became God our brother. He drew alongside forever to dwell. Our God in the flesh, Emmanuel. This God of the manger uproots all our notions, a heavenly stooping, divine demotion. Born in a stable, wriggling on straw, fully committed to life in the raw. Santa gives things and then goes away. Jesus shows up to befriend and to stay. Santa rewards those with good behavior. Jesus comes near to the broken as Savior. If you don't like God, I think I know why. You probably think he's St. Nick in the sky. You're right to reject that faraway stranger. This Christmas, look down to the God in the manger.